13 years ago, I became a father to a little girl who had lost everything in a single, unimaginable night. From the moment she entered my life, I knew I would do anything to protect her, care for her, and give her the sense of stability that had been so cruelly taken from her. I built my entire life around her. I loved her with a fierceness no less powerful than love by blood. And yet, life has a harsh way of testing even the strongest bonds. I learned that lesson on a quiet evening, when my girlfriend Marissa showed me something that shook the very foundation of everything I believed to be certain. For the first time in years, I found myself forced to choose between the woman I intended to marry and the daughter I had raised from nothing. 13 years ago, I was just beginning my career as an emergency room nurse when a family was brought in after a terrible accident. Tragically, the parents passed away before we could save them. The only survivor was a 3-year-old girl named Avery. She looked at me as if I were the last safe person in the room. She clung to me tightly, and I decided to stay by her side. I brought her apple juice, found a children's book, and read it to her 3 times, because each time she whispered again. At one point she touched my name badge and said with innocent seriousness, "You're kind." A social worker approached me quietly and said, "She'll be placed in temporary care. There are no close relatives." Without hesitation, I heard myself say, "Can I take her tonight? Just until you arrange everything." She looked at me cautiously. "You're single. You work shifts. You're still young." "I know," I said honestly, "but I can't let her be taken away by strangers." What began as one night stretched into a week, then turned into long months, home visits, parenting classes between shifts, learning how to pack school lunches and organize the daily life of a child searching for safety. The first time she called me Dad wasn't in a dramatic moment. It happened suddenly in the frozen foods aisle of a big grocery store, as if it were the most natural word in the world. Yes, I adopted her. I changed my work schedule to something more stable, opened a college savings account for her as soon as I could, and made sure she never doubted that she was wanted and deeply loved. Avery grew into a smart, witty girl, stubborn when she believes in something, carrying my sarcasm in her replies and her biological mother's eyes in her face, something I only knew from a single photograph. I didn't date much. Until last year when I met Marissa at work, elegant, educated, and cheerful. Avery was cautious but always polite. After 8 months, I bought a ring. Then one evening, Marissa came to the house acting strangely. She didn't sit down. She didn't take off her coat. She simply pushed her phone toward me and said, "Your daughter is hiding something terrible from you. Look." My throat went dry as the screen began to load. The video was short, filmed from a distance. It showed a girl entering a cafe and sitting across from a man in his mid-40s. I needed only seconds to recognize her. It was Avery. She wasn't laughing or fooling around. She was sitting upright, listening intently. The man pulled out a brown envelope and slid it toward her. She hesitated, then took it. I looked up at Marissa. She said coolly, "The man's name is Daniel Croft. He was a close friend of her biological father. And he didn't die in the accident." The room seemed to shrink around me. I tried to object, but she continued, "The reports said the parents died, not that everyone in the car did." At that moment, the front door opened. Avery walked in, froze when she saw my face, then looked at Marissa and understood that everything had been revealed. In an unusually calm voice, she said, "I was going to tell you." I sat down slowly and said, "Start from the beginning." She told me that Daniel had contacted her 2 months earlier through an old address found in the adoption papers. He said he had been in a long coma after the accident and that he was her uncle, not her father. He didn't ask for custody. He didn't demand anything. He just wanted to see her, to know she was okay. "I didn't hide it because I'm ashamed of you," she said, fighting back tears. But because I was afraid you'd think I was looking for a replacement. Marissa cut in sharply. The real fear is that you could lose her. This man could claim her legally. Something broke inside me then. Not because of the man or the secret, but because of the word lose, as if Avery were property that could be taken away. I asked Marissa to leave us alone. She refused, saying she had the right to know the truth before marriage. I looked at her for a long moment and said quietly, "And I have the right to choose who my family is." She left angrily, slamming the door behind her. A heavy silence followed. Avery approached me cautiously, the way she used to when she was little. She looked up and asked, "You're my dad, aren't you?" I held her tightly and said, "I was your father before I even knew what the word meant, and I will be as long as I breathe." In the days that followed, I contacted a lawyer and learned that Daniel had no legal rights. We met him together. He was a broken man, painfully honest. He thanked me, not for raising her well, but for being there when no one else was. Marissa tried to come back later, but I realized that anyone who sees my daughter as a threat can never be my life partner. One night after Avery fell asleep, I sat alone in the kitchen reflecting on 13 years of fear, exhaustion, and love. I finally understood that fatherhood isn't blood or paperwork. It's a daily choice, renewed no matter what. The next morning, I found a small note on the table that Avery had written before leaving for school. "Thank you for choosing me. Every day." In that moment, I knew that no matter how the world changes, I never made the wrong choice.